always supported a flat tax. I just think it makes sense. People say, well, Rouser, what's your rate? And I say 10%. Why should the government require more than the Lord does? Makes sense to me. And you know, if you have everybody paying, and you're at a 10% rate for everybody, guess what? The economy's going to grow, and you'd have more revenue coming into the treasury probably than you do now. Which means we could do infrastructure. Our roads and bridges across this country are failing. We've got real infrastructure needs in this country. It means that we could tap into the energy resources that we have, that we could get more money, for teachers, at the state level. It would be incredible what a revamp of the tax code would do. Simple, flat, and fair. How can you beat that?
Thank you. Mr. Crowe, your thoughts on this?
Well, I had a teacher in high school, and he said the power to tax is the power to destroy. I have never forgotten that. I have went to y'all's website today and looked at some of your ideas on taxes, and you feel that, if I understand you correctly, that it needs to be at the point of using things, that the taxes should be made. It's interesting that the tax burden in North Carolina is like 10% coming out of individuals, and federal government is 18%, and certainly we get something, we get a lot for our 10%, and I don't think we get anything for the 18%. But if one thing for North Carolina, I think you've got a corporate tax rate that's 6%. If you lower that to like 4% or 3%, you're going to get companies coming here, and they're going to be bringing employees here that are going to be paying other taxes, when they go buy stuff. So I believe that your idea is right, but anything that has to do with increasing taxes makes me nervous.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna.
Ronald Reagan used to quote a Muslim philosopher named Salome, who said that in the beginning of an empire, the tax rate is low and the revenues are high. And at the end of an empire, the tax rate is high and the revenues are low. Think about what the tax rate is across Africa. There are countries where it's at 90%. Friends, we've seen the collapse in Europe. We talked about debt a little while ago. We know that America's debt rating went from AAA to AA, and a downgrade that will make it harder and more expensive for us to borrow, thus making us less competitive. We know that that's already unfolding in Europe ahead of time. We can look to see what we're going to turn into. And yet in France, do you know that the leader in the recent French election is a socialist that wants to raise their tax rate to 75%? I can't make this up. I can't make this up. So while people are watching riots on the streets of Athens because people don't want to be told they can't retire at 48, the French are about to elect a socialist that wants to raise their tax rate to 75%. And we have a president that cares more about fairness than about job creation. We need to change that. I stand for a plan that changes that.
Thank you. That was a good discussion on taxes. Thank you, John. We're going to have one more question from the audience. I'm going to take myself off the hot seat and ask Barb Hines, the chairman of the Layton County Republicans, to choose our last question from the audience. Does anyone have a question?
So, general question to all three of you. How do you feel about earmark, and how would you treat them in office?
And this first question will go to David Rouser, and then to Mr. Crowe, then to Mr. McKenna, and then back to Mr. Rouser. Your lines, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a very good question. I think first it's important to understand that all discretionary funding is earmarked one way or the other. It's just a matter of whether a member of Congress or Congress itself earmarks it, or whether a bureaucrat earmarks it. So I look at earmarks perhaps a little differently than some others. And I do so because of my time working for Senator Helms and also serving in the executive branch. I never fully understood that earmarks, that all discretionary funding, in essence, was an earmark until I served in the executive branch. And I saw what the liberal bureaucrats did with the money that Congress appropriated to the agency. You know, at least with an earmark that comes from Congress, you can hold that member of Congress accountable. Their folks back home, you can hold them accountable. When a bureaucrat is earmarking the money, you don't even know who they are. You can't even find them. So, get to the question. And that is, if I have an opportunity to take care of beach renourishment, dredging off the coast here in southeastern North Carolina, I'm going to do what it takes to make sure that the economy remains viable. Because you know what? If you don't have that dredging money, if you don't have the money necessary for beach renourishment, it hurts the economy in this congressional district. And so I'm not going to look at it as, is it an earmark, and that's automatically a bad thing. I'm going to do what's right and what's necessary to keep the economy moving, particularly as it relates to infrastructure, beach renourishment, and dredging.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor?
You know, there's a lot of bad spending. I mean, we spend a whole lot of money. I'm just trying to think. I've got a list of all the things we spend it on. And if I had my druthers, I don't think I'd want any of them. I mean, all these different departments and things like that, I'd like to see them go. Now, as far as earmarks are concerned, I definitely do not see this district saying, okay, we're not going to take any money in every district that we're competing against would. But I think that earmarks probably have a bad name. I guess they do have a bad name. I mean, if you wanted to get rid of them, I like the idea, and I would definitely be for it if everybody got rid of them. I do not think that it's fair or right just for this area to give up their money, and it could be important. And compared to a lot of the other spending that goes on, I think it's a lot better than a whole bunch of money that's being spent.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan.
You know, I believe in something called leadership by example. Maybe that makes me a relic of the dinosaur, I don't know. I'm just not satisfied with the, well, this is how it's always been done. And I appreciate my opponent and decades spent in Washington and government, and I appreciate the worldview that's defeatist and we can't and shouldn't and won't. But I don't subscribe to that, or I wouldn't be here tonight. I wouldn't be wasting your time, and I wouldn't be wasting mine. You know, it's great that earmarks have provided us important things, maybe a dredge channel, maybe high-speed internet to some folks in southern Columbus County. Do you know an aircraft carrier was paid for by an earmark, even mine-resistant vehicles in Afghanistan, and I appreciate things that save lives. But when 435 members of Congress, combined with 100 senators, are all going to make sure that they get theirs, we forget the one thing that brought us here and woke up the Tea Party in 2010, which is the fact we have a debt that's completely unsustainable because people have been promising things with your money and your future. When are we going to get serious about this? I can't say, well, I'm going to protect you and bring you what's ours, but I'm going to stop them. Because that isn't going to work. You have to be ready to lead with your body, to lead by example. It stops for me, I don't support earmarks, and it's going to stop for everybody else. And we have to reform the budgetary process. We have to reform it so that it works for us instead of working against us.